Several countries in the Middle East continue to undergo political and economic transition. Jordan and Morocco have requested financial support from the IMF. With us to discuss this today is the IMF Managing Director, Christine Lagarde. Madame Lagarde, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
A year and a half has passed since the beginning of the Arab Spring. What has the IMF done to help these countries?
First of all, as you say, a lot has happened in the last year and a half. There has been an enormous transition. A lot of hope has been generated as a result. And clearly this is all happening with the background of an economic crisis, and an economic crisis of which the center is currently in Europe, which is really around the corner from many of the Arab countries. The IMF has been extremely engaged. We have been engaged in most countries by way of technical assistance in particular, and that's typically what the IMF can do. We have members in the organization, they have needs. We try to provide the best technical assistance that is going to be of use to them.
And what about the financial arrangements? You have provided support to Yemen, Jordan, and Morocco, or at least you are in the process of providing this support.
Well, for the last year and a half, ever since the transition has begun, we have been engaged in a dialogue constantly with the authorities of the region. And in particular with those three countries, we had a very, very productive dialogue. For instance, in Morocco, we are putting in place what we call a PLL, a precautionary and liquidity line of a little over $6 billion, $6.2 billion to be specific. Now this precautionary and liquidity line is a bit like an insurance coverage, and it's really intended to protect the country against potential shocks. The Moroccan authorities have in place a strategy, a set of reforms that will strengthen the economy and that will be good for growth and for a more equitable and more sustainable growth going forward. In the case of Jordan, we are implementing with them what we call an SBA, a standby arrangement of a little over $2 billion. Now that will clearly help Jordan, which is facing a difficult energy shock. Energy prices have gone up massively. The population of Jordan is receiving subsidies. It clearly is a major cost on public finances, and the standby arrangement is going to help the Jordanian authorities in order to really take the necessary measures to strengthen the economy, to strengthen the public finances, to make sure that the economy is stronger on a sustainable basis, with a special concern about equitable growth and equitable burden being shared in the country.
So it's clear that the fund has different modalities to engage depending on the circumstances. But are these programs different than the ones the IMF supported in the past?
IMF is different from the past. And the programs that we have in place evolve as our membership evolves and meets different circumstances and faces different shocks. So we have a whole range of tools, a whole range of programs available. What I think is different in this particular case is that we really pay specific attention to the underprivileged, to the poor in those countries. One thing that the IMF has learned as a result of the Arab transition or the Arab Renaissance is that numbers don't tell the whole story. And we have to really examine precisely what is behind the numbers, who benefits from growth, who benefits from subsidies, how are the fruits of growth allocated in a particular country, so that it can be as sustainable in the long term and therefore better shared in the population.
Madame Lagarde, thank you very much.
Thank you.